Last time on Skoolie Life, I broke my bike in the middle of the Wyoming desert and had to fetch it with the bus, and once I did, I drove east and south into Colorado, the nearest big city I could find, which was Fort Collins. Before that, I did try to do some diagnostics on the bike, and with all the diagnostic miracles that I could pull out of my hat, I still couldn't figure out why all the lights came on, the engine spins, and the engine doesn't fire. So it absolutely made no sense to me why this would happen, other than coil problems or spark plug problems. And you can see here I didn't even have the tool to get down in the ports to pull my plugs. So off to Fort Collins I went, and they hooked me up pretty quickly, and did some other maintenance that I've been needing to do and really didn't want to do. So it was a really good stop, and I was able to restock my supplies and get ready to go west.
I am in Fort Collins, Colorado. Just got through with dinner, and I've had a really good day today. I got a lot done, got some work done. I'm actually working today, and picked up my motorcycle, put it back together. Well, the guys that got me running, the guys at Moto Italia got me running, and it was just a fuse. So lucky me. It was real cheap, but I was so excited to hear it was just a fuse and not major electrical components or, head work or something crazy like that. I was so excited, I just said, hey, I got some other work. Check my valves, replace the fork seals. They did all kinds of stuff that I didn't ask them to do, and they just really took care of me. I'm so pleased that I ran into Moto Italia, and I got, they were recommended from ADV Rider. So sometimes you just freaking get lucky with a shop, and I think I just really got lucky with Moto Italia. Fixed up my bike for probably a third of what I was expecting to pay from what I thought was a high-end shop. They obviously know what the hell they're doing, but charge reasonable rates to do it. So very excited there. But I thought I'd celebrate, and instead of going back to the Chinese place that I had across the street that was kind of bland, and it was okay, just didn't really have any flavor. But instead of doing that again, I have not gotten my fill of Asian food, so I decided I didn't know how to make freaking Asian food, and it was freaking awesome. Made some shrimp stir fried, and it was freaking awesome. But cooked and ate my dinner, watched half of a movie and couldn't take it anymore, and decided I'm going to come out here and finish up a little report on Fort Collins, which I absolutely love. I love this town. It's got all the good parts of Denver and none of the bad parts, and overnighting in Sam's Club, and obviously I've got some trash I need to get rid of. I'll do that in the morning. The bus has not been this clean since I left Florida in May, and you could tell I didn't do a good job of hosing it off, but it's 10 times better than it was Tuesday. So but I'm gonna crawl back in here and go to sleep eventually, and wake up, get some work done in the morning, and maybe explore some of Fort Collins before I move on to the next adventure. I've had a blast in Fort Collins. I've gotten so much done here and had a good time doing it, and really haven't gone out that much at all. It's just everything's so freaking convenient and close by. I know I've driven 15 miles since I've been here, but I've made 10 trips. Everything's 15 minutes from one point to the other, but it's 5 miles. So, and I park somewhere and I get 10 things done in one place. I can walk across the street, walk next door, walk to 3 places. I really like Fort Collins, and the mountains are 30 minutes away, if that. You can see them from here. Fort Collins is awesome.
And of course, it's not just Fort Collins, it's all of Colorado. And it's just beautiful and wonderful, and the people are amazing, and it's just a great place to visit and live if you're into that. The people are always walking everywhere and cycling, and it's a very fit population, and it's kind of extraordinary the contrast between this state and others. So after resupply and repair, I headed into Denver to jump on 70 to cross the Front Range into a town called Silverthorne. And this was a new experience because I'd never been on 70 before. Been across the mountains a few times, but never on an interstate. And they had some amazing tunnels, and this is one of the first, one of the smaller ones in fact. And the most impressive tunnel was the Eisenhower, which I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it's the longest tunnel in North America, I think, something like that. Anyway, it was very impressive. But you can kind of see how rugged the mountains are around here. I would highly recommend a trip down 70 if you get the chance. It's not one of the most scenic roads. That's the $1 Million Highway, which is 550 out of Ouray, between Ouray and Durango. So here I'm rolling through the Eisenhower Tunnel, which is almost 2 miles long and is the longest mountain tunnel, and the highest point on the U.S. interstate system. It's pretty impressive. Very tall, as you can see. I think there's, 8 feet above me here. But on the other side of the tunnel, there is a pull-off for trucks to check their brakes. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, let me check this and let me get a grip, because this is probably going to be a long downhill. And that's exactly what it was. You saw a few cars on the side of the road coming up to this bridge going west, but there was a lot of cars on the other side coming up the hill, because it's I can't remember, it seemed like it's 8-10 miles uphill, and of course I'm about to be going down that hill, and it's very important that you have your brakes in working order. A lot of people make the mistakes in big rigs, sometimes riding their brakes down rather than putting some kind of a braking system on or putting it in a low gear. I think the signs say low gear on this pull-off, but I was the only truck on this pull-off, which was kind of scary. And if you don't know, if you've ever been in the mountains, they have runaway truck traps and runaway vehicle traps. When you lose your brakes, you pull off into these sand traps, and it stops your vehicle pretty fast. Never put yourself in that situation.
I am in Silverthorne, Colorado. Man, it's beautiful up here. I'm so glad to be back in the middle of the Rockies. Stayed on top of Genesee Mountain last night. That was nice. Got stocked up and checked out the oil situation. The rig did not want to start this morning, and I spun the engine several times, kicked out a bunch of smokes. I'm thinking maybe I've got a cracked ring or something. That may be the source of all my woes. But once I got it running, and I'm not kidding, it took me a good 5 minutes of spinning the engine. I let the battery cool and the starter cool, and finally got all that oil. Probably this bus just does not like these mountains, and unfortunately I'm surrounded by huge freaking mountains. But anyway, I got over the big ones, and I am headed west. I'm gonna overnight here, and there's a really cool Baker's Brewery just down the street. I'm gonna see if I can. I think I might pull the bicycle off and pedal over there. That might be interesting. They got a bike path over here too, so that'll be fun. But we'll see how it goes. I may stay here a couple of days if there's anything interesting. I got a tip on on a highway that's on the other side of the mountain where I just came from. Maybe I'll pull the bike out and take it back over there, see what I can find. Just glad to be stopped and the oil not gushing. That's one very exciting thing.
And of course I did pull out the motorcycle to find this very twisty, crazy mountain road on the other side of the Eisenhower. So I went back up, and you could see all the cars that are stalled, and it was probably a lot worse because these cars weren't really moving because of the traffic. Probably because people were stalling their cars in the middle of the interstate and slowing traffic. But there was a lot of cars that were pulled over with their hoods up, and it's kind of crazy. But as it turns out, I finally diagnosed the real problem with my motorcycle, which was the fan was broken. My radiator fan was broken. It wasn't coming on. It was causing the bike to overheat. But the real problem was the fan was was causing too much amperage to be pulled. It was blowing a fuse. So the real problem that I had, quote, fixed in Fort Collins, they just replaced the fuse. They found the problem, which was really odd. But the real problem, the underlying problem, was a bad fan. And luckily I had a couple of extra fuses that I could put on the bike and get back to the bus. But I missed my chance riding the crazy roads. But I did get to go back up through the tunnel and back once before I headed further west, which will be next time.